Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and those yet to decide. I'm Hopalong PR, and welcome to the show.
What are you two doing here?
What are you talking about? You invited us.
Yeah,
over.
like you said. You called us over to help make a video.
Yeah, I know, I remember that. But I wrote the script for 2 people, not 3. One of you shouldn't be here.
That must mean one of us is in another. Who doesn't belong?
What did we have for lunch?
We're having lunch.
We had pizza. I had pepperonis.
Yeah, and I had the mushrooms. And
With the powers of dragons of old and bandicoots, I condemn you to hell.
what did you do to him?
I atomically deconstructed him. He had to go.
Wait, that's right. We hate mushrooms. So that's how you knew.
Sure. That's how I knew. I clearly didn't guess.
But did he have to kill him like that? I mean, come on.
Oh, come on. There are worse ways to go. Valid point.
So today we're going to be talking about the anime Another, and the most annoying thing about it is trying to write with it. I mean, it's just called Another. There's no Japanese words into it, and it doesn't even sound like a cool title. It's just the word Another. No Boku knows anywhere, no X anywhere. It's not like Naruto. I mean, Naruto's a Japanese word for food, but I'm digressing. Let's get to the review. Alright, so Another is a creepy horror anime. The premise revolves around a cursed classroom and those students who are in that classroom being hunted by a ghost and a curse. Either or. 26 years ago, in a third-year classroom of a middle school, there was a student named Miyazaki. When she suddenly died, her classmates decided to carry on if she were still alive until graduation, which unknowingly began the curse that would haunt that classroom for many years to come. Then, in the spring of 1998, a boy named Sakakibara Koichiki transfers to that classroom, and he grows suspicious of the fearful atmosphere in the room. In particular, there is an aloof girl named Mei Miyazaki who wears an eye patch and is always alone and ignored. So one thing I want to point out that this show does, it gives you information very slowly and in very small amounts to begin with, until it happens. Owie. So Another is a creepy anime where middle schoolers face death at any possible moment. And before I go any further, yes, the staff, the students, faculty all know. They accept the curse as a real thing, which is usually a good sign. Now the curse pertains to anybody in the class, I think it's 3 or C, but anybody in that class can die at any time, and that curse extends to their parents, their siblings, and their grandparents as well. So they're all at risk for dying. Think of it like a Final Destination anime. Or a good Final Destination, not like 3 or 4. Like 1 or the Final Destination. During the duration of the show, you learn that this has been going on for 26 years, and despite doing rational things like trying to get rid of the cursed class, holding exorcism, and a miscellaneous variety of other approaches, people and students are still dying. There are years where there are no victims of the curse, where the Department of Countermeasures has saved everyone. Now, originally, I had set out to make this review just to praise Another for how good it is, but I decided to rewatch it, and it's just excruciating. It's hard to rewatch. I'll get to why later. So, the story officially starts with Sakakibara transferring to the cursed school. He was forced to change schools because his dad went to India. Because reasons, apparently. So he enters the class, and this is the first strike against the show. This show falls into a very, very tragic trope of horror movies and shows, where apparently conversation is a bad thing, and it's frowned upon. And that leads to some investigations that very messy outcomes. Though, they are in middle school and they're about 15 or 16, so, you know, I can forgive irrational thinking maybe like once or twice. But that leads me to my biggest gripe. This little piece of shit.
So, Rich, I liked Mikasa. Call me slappy, but when I first watched this show, I had a very particular taste of girls. To give you a frame of reference, Raven from the original Teen Titans I had a huge crush on growing up, so gives you a little bit of frame of reference. Anyway, rewatching with some growth in my life, I realized that she is just a little piece of shit. So to tell you as much as I can with as little spoilers, I will say this. She is a girl who has an ability that, if used with conversation and communication, she could have saved the entire class from the very beginning. She's constantly keeping information to herself. She's reserved and doesn't really make that much of a solo contribution. She just happens to keep being there while things happen. To begin with, the other students don't acknowledge her being there. So going off that, she tries to just fuck with Sakakibara and almost convinces him that she doesn't exist.
This leads to a pitfall, like I said earlier, where conversations apparently are a bad thing in horror shows. Like when Saki first gets to the middle school, nobody tells him the rules. Nobody tells him about the curse. He has to find that out on his own, and by doing that, he breaks the rules and strengthens the curse, allegedly. But everybody gets pissy at him. How is he supposed to know if nobody told him, guys? Come on. Another part is later, when they receive a hint about how to deal with the curse to save everybody, the characters involved did not use their friggin' heads at all. When they found out the information, they should have talked to everybody, or at least had of countermeasures. It's like, hey, we found this thing. Let's talk about this. But no, had they done that, they could have prevented a bloodbath. But, like in all horror shows, common sense gets thrown right out the window.
Though, as much as I don't want to spoil things, I'm going to say something right now that bugged me more than it was probably meant to. Part of the effects of the curse is that it's supposedly to stay affecting you if you are in that town and nowhere else. So, as soon as the characters leave the city limits, they turn into reckless idiots. Yes, one kid does die, but that was primarily due to his own stupidity. I don't know if you've ever been swimming where there are boats in the water, but you can't blame a curse for you being so careless.
That reminds me. I wonder where the other me is.
Whew. Now the other version's me is gone, I can do whatever I want without any care. Hooray for reckless abandonment!
Nah, I'm sure he's fine. Okay, so let me save you my misfortune. There is an episode 0 for this series. That is not the first episode. That's actually the last episode. I thought it originally was, well, the first episode, but after that, I thought it was like a nice little send-off to the show. Until I realized that they just created episode 0 to prove that they weren't lying their asses off. There are several key plot points that are just talked about, and we have to take a person's word on it instead of having any definitive proof whatsoever. Where once the plot thickens and things go haywire, what's true and what isn't true seem equally as much as bullshit. I mean, I didn't see how the ending came. It was a nice surprise, so I guess good writing on that part, but episode 0, completely there to prove they weren't lying.
Like I said earlier, rewatching this is a horrendous experience since you already know what's going to happen and when. But this is why I'm not going to say much. Watching it the first time was amazing. The suspense of what was going to happen was electrifying and compelled me to keep watching. Though there are some pretty great scenes where the flow of the show just completely changes, for better or worse. Like this scene that just pops out of nowhere. Literally. And there's no foreshadowing, and it is beautiful.
Watching another is like watching a magic trick. You're just like in awe of it, and you're astounded by it. Rewatching another is like sitting in class waiting to go to recess. Because there are just so many times you're just sitting there, and I just want to yell, yo, fuck faces, talk to each other. But that never happens. There's just so many miscommunications, and somebody keeps their mouth shut instead of trying to save everybody. Another is suspenseful, no question. Scary? not so much. Despite what I've said about it, I highly recommend watching it. So go do that. Do not rewatch it. Don't be like me. For many reasons, but don't do that to yourself. And because I don't know how to end videos, I'm going to leave you with this nice collection of footage from the show. So enjoy.